Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Nico Flo Show. On today's episode, we have an amazing guest, a long-awaited guest. This is a D1 football star going to the United States Naval Academy. He went to high school with me, or we're technically still in high school together. We're about to graduate. He is a massive leader in a lot of Catholic organizations at my school. He's a great brother of mine. He's a role model. He's a mature guy. I think you're going to love hearing straight from him. Welcome to the show, Alex Reyes.
Thanks for having me, Nico.
Nice.
Thank you.
Nice. All right, let's get started with the drinks, of course. On today's episode, I kind of have my classic. I'm not gonna lie. This is a coffee with a nice coffee with about half coffee, half milk. A lot of milk. I usually go like vanilla, but we don't have any, so I just went milk, and I got a sprinkle of sugar. Reyes, let me preface before I say what Reyes is. I was gonna ask him what he want, but I knew he would just say a Fairlife protein shake. So
we got
he's got a
today Fairlife 30 grams, something that is an ongoing joke in our group. I'm a pretty big dude.
How much do you weigh? Or like, what's your?
So I'll say the most that I actually ever weighed was
Yeah,
about 258 pounds.
That's insane, dude.
258 pounds my sophomore year. Currently I'm sitting around like 245, 250.
Okay.
So yeah, but requires a lot of working out, a lot of protein shakes. So this is an ongoing joke in our group. They call me the protein guy.
This is true.
And so anytime someone asks me like, "Yo, Reyes, what do you want?" It's always got to have some sort of protein in it. So Nico hooked me up, Fairlife 30 grams. This is something that I usually take in on a daily basis, roughly 3 times a day. I need about 250 grams total.
That's crazy.
To maintain or at least grow just a little bit. I'm sort of maintaining right now, but yeah, can't go wrong. Can't go wrong with the Fairlife protein
And
shake.
they taste good too.
They do.
Are you one of those? Because I'm one of these where like only very specific protein shakes I will drink because they usually taste like butt.
Yes.
You're the same?
Yes. So typically these are for like, obviously they're for like on the go sort of deal. I'll typically make my own.
Oh, okay.
I'll typically use a shaker and I'll do just strict protein powder. I don't remember the last time I've actually put like fruit and made sort of blend.
Are you with milk or with water?
Good question. So it varies.
Oh, okay.
It varies. So the reason you use milk is for bulking, more calories, a bit more protein in milk.
Sense. No, that checks out.
So typically I would use water in a shaker because in a shaker you have to clean it out or it smells.
True.
So if you put milk in it, you kind of got to clean it out more frequently. Whereas with water, it's kind of just.
Do you think it tastes good with that, or what protein like powder are you using?
Gold Standard.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think I've had that one. The chocolate.
Yeah.
I've had it. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll go back. Maybe
So
I'll see.
But yeah, no. Typically water, just again because protein shakers can get fairly dirty. But these more so on the go, like if I'm traveling or I'm out of the house for the day, maybe going to do some field work, whatever. Then this is a good replacement, you must say, because carrying around a shaker isn't always the most convenient thing. It is, I'll say, if you're traveling for maybe 2 weeks at a time, a week, 2 weeks at a time, you're on vacation, whatever. But these help out a lot. So yeah, 30 grams of protein, high quality Fairlife protein shake. I'll be guzzling that down throughout the show, but
sounds good. Yeah. Before we get into, because we always kind of start with the story, but before we get into that, we were talking about weight. I want to know, because you're going to like next level now to play football. Just give a little bit. What's your position, and then for that position, because it obviously varies depending on your position.
Yeah.
But for your position or your hypothetical position, or your future position, I mean, what weight are you going to need to be at there?
Okay, so I play defensive line, more so defensive end, but I move around interior. Now I play more exterior. So for the Naval Academy, this is what my coach has told me: 270 pounds.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
that's wild, dude.
And dive a bit deeper on that. Why weight is so important? Again, a lot of people don't weigh 270 pounds.
Right.
And so people are like, dude, why you got to weigh so much? you got to understand that in football, you're going up against 300, 330-pound guys.
That's insane.
You need to be a good enough weight to continue to be shifty, continue to be athletic,
Uh-huh.
continue to be elusive. Um, but also, like, you need to be able to hold your own. If you're 230 pounds
Hmm.
playing Division One FBS football, you will get thrown
That's
like a
crazy.
child.
That's
Um,
crazy.
and so, yeah, over the course of this next year, um, I'll be working up to about 260, 265 ish.
Is
Um,
that is that is the goal for that to mostly come from
muscle,
muscle?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, muscle. Maybe a bit of fat, but um,
Hmm.
yeah, whatever the cleanest is,
Mm.
because there is you bring up a good point. There is a difference. Um, there's a difference between me gaining 20 pounds of some muscle and some fat versus maybe like 80% muscle, 20% fat.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's just the feeling of it, right? When you have muscle, I
Mm.
think you feel better. Um, and in terms of that athleticism, you're more at a peak. Whereas if you kind of split it down the
Hmm.
middle, again, you're carrying around a bunch of excess fat, and that's not what we want. But anyways, yeah, defensive linemen, we're typically, I'll say typically, um, guys in high school who are going to play at the level that I'm going to play, are typically weighing between 220 to 260
Yeah.
already at the defensive end position. Um, a lot of great guys I know. I know a guy out in Florida who's at Oklahoma now. He's about
Mm.
235 pounds.
At the end?
He's at DN. Yeah,
Wow.
he's at Oklahoma. But then there's another guy. He's the number one player in the country.
Mm.
He is 6'6", so he's like 267. So a
Wow.
lot of it varies on height too. Like
Yeah,
you don't want to
yeah,
be
yeah.
6'6" and then 220 pounds.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm about 6'4", 6'4" and a half ish. So 260, 265 will settle
Okay.
in nice with me. But yeah,
I got
no,
you.
defensive line, roughly Division One FBS are roughly around 235 to 200.
For those who don't
So
know, and for me as well, because FBS was FBS.
yeah, so FBS. So in Division One, you have FBS and you have FCS. In simple terms, FBS is more of uh, the higher level teams.
Mm.
So you think about FBS, and there's different conferences within the
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah, there's different conferences within FBS and within FCS. But to just give some examples, when you think FBS, you're going to instantly think of Georgia, Notre Dame,
Mm.
Ohio State, Oregon,
Yeah, yeah.
um, Washington, those kinds of teams. UCLA, um,
UCLA is that good?
UCLA is
You can see my football knowledge.
UCLA is Big Ten.
Wow.
So yeah,
Okay.
big. They're in the Big Ten conference.
Oh no, I did know that. Okay, I'm gonna say this before we get more into it. Most of my knowledge from football, especially college football, is coming from college football 26, the game.
Okay.
So most of my knowledge of teams, how good they are, how not good they are, is coming from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So let me just, I'm gonna preface that, but continue. You're saying FBS, FA.
Yeah. So teams like that,
Uh huh.
FBS, FCS. FCS is a bit trickier. So FCS, you have teams. Let's say along the East Coast, which is where we're based out of. You have teams like Elon is an FCS
Mm,
team where you're going to be at.
yeah.
You have Maine. You have teams like Georgetown. Um, those are the ones I can think of off the top of my head, and they're a part of my recruiting journey, which I guess we'll get into later on.
Sure.
Um, but they're on the lower end.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'm fortunate enough to go play FBS football, the highest level,
That's
um,
crazy. Yeah.
close to the highest level. Um, Navy is in the ACC with a bunch of other great teams. We'll actually be playing Notre Dame
That's
this
yeah.
this upcoming year. So that'll be exciting. But yeah, FBS and FCS, just in broad, simple terms, FBS is higher level than FCS.
Mm-hmm.
FBS is your Ohio States, your Notre Dames, your UCLA's. JMU is actually an FBS football
Mm,
team, but they're not as high as Oregon, Ohio State,
yeah.
um, and then FCS is sort of your smaller level teams.
But they're still like D1 though.
They're still D1.
So it's
Yeah,
still like
still highly
big. Yeah,
competitive.
it's still a
Yeah.
big deal to
Like
play
if
there.
you're playing D1 FCS, like you're a part of the 1% of athletes that
Wow. Yeah.
football athletes that continue to move forward to play uh, play football in the collegiate level. So
Awesome.
that's my broad term. I hope that
Yeah,
helps.
no,
That's
yeah,
sort of
yeah, that's perfect.
the
That's
broad
perfect.
terms. But
Okay, before we get more into that, because I have so many questions on that. Like I feel like there's so many things that the normal high school, like young teen or young adult would want to know about playing like a sport at the highest level like you are right now,
yeah,
that like we would never get the answers to unless we ask. You know what I mean?
I
And you
got
would
you.
know. Okay, so we'll get into that in a minute. But before we do that, um, give a little bit about your story, kind of lead up to where you are today in the sense of football. You could talk about family if you'd like. You could talk about faith a little bit if you like. We'll get into faith a little later,
Okay.
more specifically later. But yeah, just as broad as you want to be, as deep as you want to be, whatever.
Yeah.
Fits you.
So my football journey started when I was about 7 years old. Um, Actually, who inspired me to play football
Mm,
was my older brother who was already playing. Um, he played tackle football ever since the age of 7 years old.
mm,
Um, he was really good, a really athletic kid, someone who I look up to even to this day. I still look up to my brother, and so um, even watching, you know, every Sunday watching, uh, now known as the Commanders, but the Redskins back then. Um, I was inspired. And
mm-hmm.
so ever since 7 years old, I begged my parents, like, please, like, let me do this. And they're
Yeah.
like, yeah, of course, like, get into sports, do all the things. Growing up, we were a very sporty family. All of us
Mm,
played soccer up until about like age 8 to 10. Um, I dabbled in baseball for about a year, wasn't my thing.
yeah, okay.
Um, but then found my love and my place in football at about 7 years old. Uh, Played flag football for a majority of my life. Um, Started out there just focus. It was really more focused on having fun. I never really thought of
Yeah.
um, pursuing a professional career in it. Um, Up until about freshman year, I believe. Actually, let's go back a little bit.
Yeah.
Eighth grade was going to be my first year I was playing tackle football. Very excited. Went out for tryouts. And mind you, I was a very like heavy set kid by the time I was in seventh grade.
Mm.
Um, like I was 230 pounds at 5'11", but I
Wow.
was a big boy. Um, so moving around athletically, I wasn't as athletic as
Sure.
I am today, and that's something I needed to progress on. Um, but anyways, yeah, I went out for my first season for tryouts. Um, Midway through tryouts, I had immense pain in my right heel,
Mm,
um, and I couldn't finish the tryouts. It was pain so great that I was just like on the floor. I couldn't walk. I started crying a bit
yeah.
too. Um, and so I didn't play my eighth grade year, which had me upset. But I went to the doctors, orthopedics actually, and they diagnosed as plantar fasciitis,
Mm,
which is very common in athletes, common in a lot of football players actually. I have a flat foot, which
mm,
is where it's typically
okay.
found.
Got you.
Um, which plantar fasciitis, if for the viewers who don't know, it's pretty much a lack of um, I guess flexibility in your tendon, pretty much that runs along your heel. It's connected to your calf and your Achilles. When that gets really tight, and if you don't stretch it out, stretch your calves out, whatever, and then you go right back into doing very physical activity, you're pretty much forcing a stretched out ligament to
Mm,
stretch a little bit. And some people have actually torn their
yeah.
fascia,
Wow.
um, and then that requires surgery to sort of mend it back together.
You know what? In volleyball, that's actually more common than you think because specifically for setters, because if you think about the motion, we're going from like a standing up position, right? Maybe like what I don't know what degree that would be, but like a barely any bend in your knee.
Yeah.
And then when you set the ball, you go like from this to just a little bit and then straight back up. And you're
Mhm.
doing that hundreds of time in the game.
Yeah.
So that like area is that tendon, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah.
It gets really overworked. And not to necessarily the degree that like, okay, you're out for a season or anything like that. But
Yeah.
it's one of the most common like pain areas that will take you out for a few days and then you got to come back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Continue.
And it
Yeah.
makes sense too. With volleyball, you're jumping a lot.
Yeah.
You're jumping a lot, and with football, it's sort of the same thing. With football, it's a lot more um, quick, shifty movements. You got to be able to move left and right very fast.
Yeah.
Volleyball, it's sort of the same thing. You have six guys on a court moving left and right, but you also got to jump. It's a lot of strain on the calves, a lot of strain on the heels. So, anyways, yeah, plantar fasciitis has to do with the tightness in your fascia in your heel.
Mm.
So I had that, and I dealt with that for about a year and a half going into my
Mm.
freshman year. Um, did treatments like physical therapy, shockwave therapy. They literally took a gun with electric shocks, um, and the goal behind that is these shocks actually sort of release some of the tension
Hmm.
in your heel,
Hmm.
which allow for more blood flow to actually get to the heel for that healing process to sort of
Mm-hmm.
advance. So I did that for um, I probably had about 10 plus treatments of
Wow.
shockwave therapy. Just
That's
a
crazy.
of just a gun. It's not painful. It's not painful shockwave.
Is
It's
that normal, like that amount, or was it?
for me, the doctors will probably just recommend it more because it costs a good amount of money.
Sure.
And it works for a good amount of people, but also shockwave doesn't work for some
Mm.
people. For me, it helped a lot. I had a really, really tight heel. And so it took more than a few times to sort of break that all up and get blood flow into my heel
Yeah. Yeah.
to advance that process. Um, so yeah, I struggled with that for the next year and a half going into
Right.
my freshman year um, at Oakton High School. Um, and that's when I started freshman year tackle football. I was
That's
about
crazy.
6'1", 185 pounds. Within that sort of year and a half, I actually dropped in weight. So
Mm.
I wasn't a chubby dubby anymore. I
Wait,
was,
was that because I had a similar thing, not to that degree, but it mainly came from like what's the word? Getting taller,
yep.
like almost distributed the weight. Was it that, or was it like you were also like intentionally trying to lose weight, or what was it?
So good question. I think the biggest sort of contributor to my weight gain was actually COVID.
Oh, okay.
So COVID for us was obviously difficult going through middle school and all that, online school, whatever. But for me, it was a lot of the weight stuff. Being trapped inside, growing up, I was an outdoors kid. And again, played multiple sports, but also throughout my neighborhood, I was the one kid that was getting up at 9 a.m. to get
Mm.
other friends to come out and spend time hanging out with one another till about 5 o'clock at night till
Mm-hmm.
dinner time, or even beyond that. So I was always outside growing up. And when COVID hit, it completely shifted my lifestyle. And I was inside. The biggest contributor, soda.
Mm.
Soda will kill you, man. It
Yeah.
wasn't even food.
Wow.
I was a big fan of root beer
Oh yeah.
um, back then, and so I would chug like 5 root beers a day, maybe.
Wow. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I also got as a lot of kids did, got addicted to
Yeah.
video games, and so there was no physical activity, no movement
Yeah.
in that. So that's where I saw most of the weight gain. And even my
Huh.
mom made it known to me as well. But finally, when I got back outside, things started to get better in terms of COVID. I
Sure.
was more outside, more active, um, and I also just didn't like how I felt waking up in the morning. Didn't like how I felt mobily. Um, and so I created a shift, and I got back into football.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't really work out, more so like lift weights. That came later on. Um, but more so just lost that weight. Um, and there are some photos like I was skinny. I
Really?
was skinny. Like yeah, my you could tell in my face and my arms had not a lot of muscle really anywhere.
Mm.
So I was about 185, 6'1", 185 going my freshman
Mm.
year.
Wow.
First year playing tackle football. After a crap ton of treatments for my heel, after not really being outside because of COVID, freshman year was a year to adjust for
Yeah.
sure. Um, and this is actually where my passion for playing defensive line came. So yeah, I played at Oakton High School my freshman year. We ended up going 9-2.
Mm.
We were the best freshman team the past, I want to say, decade.
Wow.
at Oakton. We made a huge impact. And yeah, I found my love at defensive end playing there. I had two great coaches, Coach Janarte and Coach Delgado, who sort of guided me through that adjustment of
Mm.
because there's a lot of things too with D line. You have to learn the stance, you have to learn get off. There's a lot of things that
Mm.
go into football that a lot of people don't realize.
Yeah.
And just the slightest technique fix can make you extremely better than somebody else.
Wow.
Um, and so I contribute a lot of my um, original growth to them. Um, Finished out my freshman year, put a little bit of weight on, probably finished about 190. Um, and I actually won. We did awards at the end of the year, and I was fortunate and blessed enough to win Defensive Player of the Year for my team, and
Nice.
I broke the sack record for freshmen at Oakton High School. So
Fire.
I now own that record. Um, it wasn't that much; it was maybe like six. Um, but that really, I don't know, caused a flame to sort of spark in me where I was like, "Yo, like I'm good at this. Like I'm going to continue to
Mm.
pursue this."
Mm-hmm.
So my sophomore year, um, went back into playing football, got really into lifting weights, and this is
Mm.
kind of where that upward trajectory started.
Mm.
Um, I started my sophomore year at 235 pounds, 240 pounds. So I've actually been a
Wow.
pretty similar weight for a while.
Sure.
The difference has just been muscle. Started at 240, um, played varsity as a sophomore, so got to play my fair share of defensive line and tight end as well. Played a
Mm.
lot of competitive teams. As a varsity team, we weren't really as great. Ended up finishing the season, I think 1-9, 2-8.
Wow.
Yeah, it was rough. Um, we had a rough coaching staff situation that just needed to be fixed. Um, and for me too, like I was a bit confused because um, actually my freshman year, uh, forgot to leave or I forgot to add this point in. I was actually asked my last game if I wanted to come up and play second string on varsity
Mm.
or play starter on JV as
Mm.
a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
But the only catch was because there's a sort of limit to how many quarters you play. It's not games, it's quarters.
Mm.
Um, so I think it was, I want to say it's a total of 4 quarters that you can play. Maybe, yeah, well, obviously four. I think there's a limit. It's either 4 to 6 that you could play in high school. So you could play all of one game freshman and then go play half a game JV. Something like that.
Huh.
I don't know the official ruling on that,
Okay.
but that's what I sort of remember from the conversation I had with
Sure.
my coach, Coach Delgado. And he came up to me and asked me, he's like, or you can stay with the freshman guys. And as much as I wanted to go and play at that higher level, um, I had developed a great foundation of a relationship with all the guys on my team. And so I was just like, nah, I'm going to stick this one out with my guys. And we were
Mm.
already on such a great trajectory going into the season and finishing
Yeah.
as well. Um, and so even that too, that just gave me reassurance of how good I potentially can be.
Yeah.
Um, and so with the struggles of coaching there, I had to make a decision. This decision involved transferring. I'd say this is the point actually that football started to become bigger, um, especially where we're at. It's become a lot bigger as a passion for guys. Um, because, 5 years ago, I'd say there's a complete and utter difference about
Mm.
the recruitment of football and just guys going to
Mm.
play college football and their desire and their passion to do that. Like it's grown exponentially.
Right.
And so, if I was going to pursue this, if you're going to get recruited, you need to play on a good team. You have to. That's the starting level. A
Mm.
coach isn't going to, and some coaches will. Some coaches will. Because don't get me wrong, there are incredible players that play on just not so great teams. Um, and so I had to make a decision for myself. And so
Yeah.
after my sophomore year, after everything that happened, I was told that I was going to get more playing time than I actually did. Um, and so that kind of left me feeling a bit weird. Um, and yeah, the coaching staff just needed to switch up. It was a rough department there, and so I need to make a decision to transfer. And so I spent probably 2 weeks talking to certain coaches. One of the coaches that actually reached out to me was the O'Connell coach.
Wow.
So I was
There are rival schools, by the
they're
way.
our rival school, yeah. So I was actually planning on going to O'Connell
Wow.
first. I went to go visit the school, talk to the coach, had a meeting with him. I loved the environment, loved the atmosphere, and I was actually like, at that point, I was just so hype and so ready, like, yo, dad, like, let's do this. Mom, dad, let's do this. Um, my mom and dad were like, let's be patient, let's sort of wait.
Mm.
Um, and so waited a little bit, and my guy Miles, do you know
Mm.
Miles Sanderson? He plays linebacker for us actually at PVI. He's going to BYU. Um, he hit me up, and he was at PVI already. Mind you, I played on the same freshman team as Miles and
Mm.
another player, Christian Rutland, who's now at PVI as well.
Yeah.
They transferred after our freshman year, so they were gone before
Oh
me.
wow.
So they didn't play their sophomore year with me at Oakton. They were already at PVI,
Yeah.
and so they already got acclimated with the guys over there. And so Miles heard about my potential transfer, and he called me. He's like, "Dude, no, 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 no. This is not happening. You know about O'Connell?" I'm like, "Yeah, they seem pretty good, man. They seem like they got a lot of coaches coming in and out." He's like, "No, come to PVI. I'll get you linked up with our head coach, Coach G, um,
Mm.
and let's see if we can make something happen." So I'm like, "All right, cool." My dad, he schedules to go tour the school with Coach G. He likes it. He likes it a lot. He likes Coach G a lot, and so that opened up the door for me to go and have my own sit down meeting with him. Uh, And let me tell you, when I walked into this weight room, which is where his office is, I had never been embraced and welcomed like I did by this football team.
Mm.
And to me, that showed the brotherhood aspect that was sort of formulating at PVI at the time. Um, and it was something that I want to be a part of. So that initially pushed me into that conversation, making me feel sort of like, yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm already starting to like this thing. But after talking with Coach G, but yeah, no, after being welcomed and embraced like that, had a meeting with Coach G. Loved Coach G as a coach and as a mentor as well. And I'll get into that sort of later. Um, fell in love with that program, and so PVI is Catholic school, and I know we're going to talk about faith later. I've grown up Catholic all my life.
Mm.
Wasn't really devoted until I got to PVI. I was missing a whole lot. But because PVI is a Catholic school, because I love their head coach, loved what they were doing at their football program. Mind you, the previous season they had a they had above 50% record. I do not remember the exact record, but PVI is notoriously known for um, having great seasons
Yeah.
year in year out. They actually went to their um, conference championship 2 years before I showed up, so they were still pretty fresh. Um, and so yeah, I made the decision to transfer January 29th, 2024. Remember the exact date.
Wow.
This is the most important uh, important decision that I think I've ever made in my life so far. The greatest decision that I made. And so I got to PVI my first day, and I was just embraced, man, embraced by a lot of people who I didn't know, but they knew me as a transfer.
Mm.
Um, Embraced by the warm welcoming, the family aspect that PVI has,
Yeah.
and so a lot of kids were asking me like, "How, yo, do you need help getting to this spot, to your locker?" And so I sparked curiosity in me, like, what goes on here? Like, why is everyone so nice? Everyone's so talkative. This is something I didn't see at Oakton.
Mm.
Um, but more so on my football side. Um, Played my junior year at PVI. Um, Played defensive tackle, more so because I was the biggest defensive lineman we had.
Mm.
At this point, I was around 6'3", 240 ish, 6'3", 240, 245. Um, and this was after, mind you, in the beginning of this podcast episode, I said I was 258. When I first got to I was 258.
Mm.
I built up to 258 just because Coach G is very big on being as big as you possibly can, which isn't always the healthiest thing to do. But so yeah, before the season actually started, I was around 258 pounds,
Wow.
255, 258. Um, but then I had to slim down just because I was feeling the weight of it. I wasn't ready for it. Slimmed down to
Mm.
240, 245. Played my junior year. I had an incredible year. Incredible year. Uh, went to the championship again after just 2 years. Played a school called St. Mary's Riken, a very competitive, highly athletic team.
Mm.
Ended up winning our first
Yeah.
championship, conference championship, for 25 years. It was a very big moment for all of us, a very big moment for myself, just to understand that the year that I came in, we go to our first championship win in 25 years. Um, and Coach G after that, he reassured me of how good I was. Um, but I was telling him at the time, I was like, yeah, me coming in, sure. Um, we had a bunch of great defensive linemen, by the way, but football really does take a team effort, um, which is why I talked about earlier. Like some coaches will visit some bad schools, bad
Mm.
football schools, is because there are some standout players, but it's really the team aspect that takes it. Um,
Yeah.
and so that year was just it instilled in us a drive that we just never had before. And again, we ended up winning the championship. Um, I got first team. I was awarded first team all conference as a defensive lineman. My first year actually starting at defensive
Mm.
line, which was very big for me, very big for my family. Um, celebrated that win and was motivated for that upcoming year to just go for it again. And so, sort of fast forward um, a little bit more to that next summer. This is kind of where it shifted for me.
Mm.
In football, you have a bunch of injuries, and for me, it ended up being a stress fracture in my lower back, which took me out the summer before my senior season. Um,
Mm.
what that does to you, you can't run, you can't exercise, you can't weight lift. It literally feels like you are an old man just trying to limp around the world,
Mm.
um, just doing the basic stuff, and even the basic stuff is hard. So I had to sit out actually a uh, majority of the off season practices, off season lifts
Mm.
that year, this past year actually. Um, eventually got better, got back into it, did some physical therapy. Football, you'll deal with injuries time to time, so it's you know constantly ongoing thing you have to worry about. And so played my senior year. I actually rotated from defensive tackle to defensive end, more specifically. Um,
Is that a big shift or?
is it a big shift? Let me tell you, when you play defensive tackle, the biggest pain about playing defensive tackle at 245 pounds is double teams.
Mm.
And like I said, you have to be for the interior guys, the defensive tackles, where I'm going to play, they're going to be around 280, 285 pounds. Um, defensive ends, roughly 250, 260. The reason, again, that D tackles are that big is because of double teams.
Yeah.
Is because if you have a center, 285 pounds, plus a guard, 295, 300 pounds, that's roughly 600 pounds versus your 280 pounds.
Mm.
And so there's a lot of technique that comes with D tackle. And so, um, yeah, it's a very big shift. It actually lightened the load
Mm.
for me because the
Sure.
defensive end, you're only going up against one guy. Two, sometimes if you're going up against a tight end,
Mm.
which was big for us in our conference. So, but that's where I've loved playing, and the reason for that is because an art of defensive line is pass rush. It is something that I will continuously harp on to our younger guys at PVI is like, if you do not know how to work these,
Mm.
good luck.
Mm.
That was the biggest shift, I would say, in my football career was
Mm.
learning how to use these.
Wow.
And I give incredible shout outs to Coach Brown, a coach that I uh, got in contact with my junior year and actually trained with him my junior year summer, all throughout my senior year as well. And he taught me the importance of technique using these in pass rush, which is the technique we use to get around offensive linemen to the quarterback. Um, and that's what you'll see a lot of the time watching defensive ends nowadays is like, how well can they pass rush?
Mm.
And so playing defensive end, that's, again, when it comes to pass rush, it's the most fun position to ever play, man. It's so fun. And so with the skills that I acquired through a lot of training and learning how to use my hands, it translated to the field. Played my senior year, um, ended up getting 13 sacks, being awarded first team all conference again. Went back to the championship for a second time. We unfortunately lost to St. Mary's Reich in that same team by a good amount, but it was a long, hard fought battle between both sides, and um, I was just grateful that we were able to go back. Um, but something to understand about that whole experience for me was the team aspect. That it didn't just take me. Um, some people would say a great defensive lineman. I still believe, and I know that I have a lot further to go, but it really took the whole team being on the same page. If that's anything PVI football has taught me, is like teamwork and brotherhood. If you don't have that, you are screwed.
Mm.
Um, and I'll go back to Coach G on this. Why he was such a great mentor and father figure towards me and towards a lot of the guys is because he instilled that
Mm.
in us. He taught us what it meant to be young men on the field and off the field. And why that's so important is because they both correlate to one another. We learned how to be great men off the field and together. Again, that brotherhood aspect that it translated to the football field.
Mm.
And something about guy relationships, the biggest thing or the biggest difference I'll say when it comes to guy relationships versus girl relationships is how they form.
Mm.
What I mean by that is the greatest male relationships, and maybe you can attest to this, um, is that the greatest male relationships formulate through suffering,
Yeah.
through trials, through battles together. And that's what football is. It's a constant battle and it's a constant denial of yourself each and every day. Because there are days where you just don't want to go out on the field and hit somebody. You don't want to go in the weight room and lift the heaviest weight that you can. It's a constant denial of yourself. And so to be able to do that alongside a group of guys who have the same desires, the same motives, um, to do that alongside them is an incredible experience, and you build incredible relationships. Um, and that's what Coach G helped sort of foster within us.
Yeah.
And for me, just as an individual, I remember numerous times throughout the school year where I was just struggling sometimes academically, and he was in the mix. Like he somehow figured out um, how all these things uh, were sort of shifting in our lives, especially things that he had to worry about.
Mm.
Because we had a couple guys like academically who were struggling a bit, and so he obviously needs to be in the loop for academic eligibility. Um, but there are few times where I was struggling, and instead of coming being like Reyes, like what the hell are you doing? What's going on with you? He was like, what can I do to help you?
Yeah.
Right, just being that father figure towards all of us, creating an atmosphere and an environment where it's uh, comfortable for us to go up to him and ask him for help. Again, he was there to be our teacher, to be our coach, to be our mentor.
Mm.
But the one thing that he wasn't to us, and he made this known, he wasn't our friend, right?
Mm.
And the reason why that is such an important thing to grasp is that a friend and a coach, completely different relationship aspects. If when you're somebody's friend, there's not really any authority there, right?
Sure.
Like me and you are boys. There's no one has more authority over the other.
Sure.
Whereas with Coach G, with head coaches, coaches in general, there's authority to that role. Um, and so we were never his friends. He was never our friends. Um, but he was a true inspiration and someone I look up to even now as we continue to finish the school year. And I've been at PVI, someone who I've looked up to for advice and for help. And
Yeah.
so, again, ended up finishing my senior year playing that championship once again, unfortunately losing. Um, and yeah, got two recognitions for first team all conference. Um, totaled at around 25 sacks to finish my career. Um, with only two years of starting varsity is pretty good. But there were so many incredible moments throughout my football journey in general, and we can go into the like recruiting process next and
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
how I dived into that. But in terms of football in general, um, that's kind of been my experience of just ups and downs and things that I've learned. There's so many things to learn from sports
Mm-hmm.
and football in general. Um, so many life lessons, so many relationships to get out of it. And that was the biggest thing for me. It wasn't really, it was about being the best. It's the best player that you can be and the best team that you can be. But there's so many other little things that there are to take from football. So it's been a long, roughly 10-year journey for me playing football and
Mm-hmm.
starting football, a lot of transitioning, uh, and a lot of development and growth. Um, and I couldn't be more fortunate enough and blessed to be where I am today at PVI and be surrounded by the guys I am today, which have really actually helped me throughout my process of figuring out what it is I want to do, um, with my aspirations regarding the sport.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I know that's a
Awesome.
lot
Nah, that's
to
great.
take in, but
That's great. That's great. All right, just for a little fun segment, to just, just for fun, we're gonna
you
call
want to give a bit of
Olivia.
background before you?
Nah.
Nah,
Just send it.
we'll see.
Just send it. We're calling Olivia and Rajat. We'll see. We'll see what she says. She was the last person on the pod, by the way.
We are
Hello,
here,
hello.
currently recording. Pod, say what's up, Olivia Umberzat.
Wait. Do you all right? Do you have anything to say to the podcast? You're speaking into the microphone right now.
Jesus loves you.
Amen.
And that's really all I have to say. That's really all you need to know from me. Yeah. In case someone told you today, Jesus loves you.
Fire.
Thought we would call you. We're in the middle of it right now, but since you were a special guest, but I'll get back at you later when it's all said and done.
All right, have fun.
Thank you so much. Love you too. Bye. Yeah, so a bit of background on her. recent recent, you guest on this podcast.
I don't know if I'd say recent. That was a
A while ago, but recent episodes on this
Yes, this
podcast. Liv is my girlfriend, so that's a bit of
D1
background.
girlfriend.
D1 girlfriend indeed.
Fire.
Yeah.
Fire. All right, let's get back into it. Let's. I have a lot of questions, but let's briefly go over the recruiting process.
Okay.
Mainly like, what's the big things that happened? Mainly talk about like offers coming in, how it felt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just go from there. Whatever you want.
Yeah. No, great question. Just to highlight, you're gonna hear my perspective. Every recruiting story that you hear is different. Every story is unique, and there are a lot of guys who I believe should be getting opportunities that other guys got who really shouldn't have got them. And that was partially how I felt. I will admit, like me seeing guys getting offers from schools that I've been in contact with,
Sure.
knowing these guys, some guys, understanding their skill level, sort of comparison, and I'll get to that theme like more later on about comparison, how that's affected me. Yeah, no, it's rough. It's definitely takes a toll on your mind for sure mentally.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, no, didn't really know much about the recruiting process until my junior year when I got to PVI. That's sort of where my passion again for football just skyrocketed, and I knew like this is what I want to do. So I had to get into recruiting. And so Coach G and a lot of the other coaches there, Coach Evans, who's now at Gainesville High School, he's unfortunately left PVI. He's now the OC over there, but he was our like recruiting director, recruiting
Mm.
coordinator, you could say. And he helped us out with getting in contact with coaches that they were in contact with, sort of helping us out. And the biggest thing about recruiting is it all operates off Twitter. Like it's not
Mm.
just strict phone calls and
Mm.
iMessage, like maybe, or emails, I should say. Like maybe some people think emails are involved. Don't get me wrong, emails are a big part of it.
Mm.
But a majority actually comes off of Twitter. So I started Twitter back in the junior year, and got in contact with some coaches. And with the recruiting process, you have to pretty much just openly like expose who you are as an athlete and as a person. And what that means is you're constantly posting videos of your highlight film, you're constantly
Mm.
posting videos of your workouts, um, your field workouts, weight room numbers, like all that stuff. And so for the beginning, that's what I was doing. I posted my junior season highlight reel, um, got into contact with a few colleges. And typically how it goes is some schools, they will respond. But depending on where you are, each school has a recruiting board. So schools will typically come in and they'll visit you. They'll meet guys, and all the coaches have their own designated recruiting area. So some coaches have the DMV, some coaches have Florida, some coaches have the West Coast, Texas, whatever it may be, however they split it. Um, and so all the coaches, they'll spread out and they'll go to each school in that area that they want to go to. Obviously, not every school is visited, but they'll go to each school and they'll meet with the guys that they've looked at, they've seen, and then they'll come back together and they'll sort of make their recruiting board. And what this
Mm.
board pretty much tells them is who are their most wanted recruits, who do they want the most, and who's below them. Um, so for
Mm.
me, that's always been the biggest thing, was just trying to get on somebody's board. Um, a lot of the
Mm.
earlier schools that I've talked to, a lot of D1 FCS schools, so Bryant, Georgetown being my first offer, which I'll
Yeah.
get into in a second. Um, yeah, Georgetown, Elon, Bryant, um, uh, Catholic was another one, Bentley, a lot of D1 FCS schools. I can't even name them all. But got in contact with those guys, sent them my film, and they come by, they do their thing. And then when summer rolls around, you start going to camps. Why camps are so important is because, again, you are the product.
Mm.
Ultimately, you're a product, and
Mm.
let's not say product. Let's say you're a business. Like who you are as a football player, like that's your business, and so you are trying to sort of sell yourself in a way. Um,
Sure.
for coaches to look at you and be like, yo, this is the sort of dude I want. And so camps, they do a really great job at allowing us athletes to sort of display our skills. And so I remember my first camp that I ever went to, and this was actually back my freshman year. I went to a camp just for the heck of it. It
Mm.
was Georgetown. First school I ever been to. Didn't really think much of it. Wasn't as great as I was as an athlete or as a player until my junior year. And so I
Sure.
actually I went back my junior year, and they recently got a new staff. Defensive line coach who I liked a lot. He's actually now at Georgia State. Um, yeah, no, he was really really good to me. Taught me a whole lot. I fell in love with their coaching staff. I loved their coaching staff actually.
Mm.
And so typically the process of getting an offer it's pretty lengthy sometimes.
Mm.
Um, so I actually part of this whole process, I'll take like unofficial visits. I'll go see the school, see the coaches. And with Georgetown, I actually did that a few times. A few times to go to like spring practices, their spring game, whatever it may be,
Yeah.
um, summer workouts, whatever. So I was actually at Georgetown a lot, just trying to put myself in these coaches' eyes and make them think or make them believe that I was the guy that they wanted. Make them know that I was the guy they wanted.
Yeah.
And telling them like I'm the player that you want on your team. And so after a few months of constant communication, talking back and forth,
Mm.
camps, and visits. The D-line coach, he calls me one day, and it was just a normal phone call. Like, it wasn't like I've never called and talked to this guy. He was like, "Hey man, how things been? Like, what you been up to?" Like, "Been great, coach." He's like, "Well, I wanted to, take some time out of this weekend. I know you're probably busy. I wanted to take some time and let you know that you have an offer from Georgetown." And I sat there in awe for like 5 seconds. Um, and I eventually almost started breaking down. I was like, "Coach, like, thank you so much for the opportunity." And that's where it all started, man.
Now, what does that exactly mean? To get an offer in that sense? Like, I assume there's many different types of offers and stuff.
Yes,
What did that mean?
great question. So, and there's a few things to take into account, and this is where it can kind of get tricky. Georgetown is a D1 FCS school that plays in the Patriot League. What that means is, so the Patriot League is a league so I'll give examples of teams. Lafayette is in this league as well, which is actually where one of their recent coaches just left and went to. Um, those sort of teams, what they agree on as a league, Marist is another school, um, who I was offered by as well. Something they agree on as a league is that they actually won't offer athletic scholarships.
Mm,
So with some schools, D1 FCS in particular, there are some schools like Georgetown where an offer means like, "Hey, we want you to be on our football team. You come here, you have a roster spot.
mm,
You have a spot with us. We're not paying for you to come to school here." And Georgetown is 100K, which is nuts, which is another reason why I really didn't lean so much into it. But when it comes to the D1 FCS level, there are certain teams that agree that they're not going to give athletic scholarships.
hmm
Now, when it comes
Why
to,
do they do that?
um, that's a great question. I don't know the main reason why they do it.
Sure.
It seems to be a lot of the highly academic schools
Mm, sure.
that do it. So Brown is another school that does it. Um, Princeton, I believe, does it.
Mm,
Harvard does it. Yale does it. A lot of those
yeah.
Ivies, Division One FCS schools, uh, they won't offer athletics. Again, I want to say that it's due to the academic portion, but I have no idea.
Right.
Um, and so, again, with some D1 FCS schools, it's like that. And I'll say this too, uh, with some D2 schools, D2 they can offer athletics, D2s.
Mm-hmm.
Some might be half, some might be full. It just depends. A lot of them rely on financial aid, like FAFSA and stuff like that, I
Yeah. Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
And then D3, there's nothing. There's no
Mm,
athletic scholarships.
interesting.
Um, but yeah, no, just back to the Georgetown bit. I was in awe for 5 seconds after he told me I had that offer. Um, Instantly went to my girlfriend Liv's house, who was just on the phone with us. I was nearby, so I figured I'd stop by, and we'd been talking about it a lot together about how this was a potential opportunity for me, and it finally happened. And um, again, that was that spiral that I started to go on, and so
When was this?
it was summer of, let me think long and hard here. I want to say summer of 24. Summer of 24.
So going into junior
So
year?
going into junior year,
Wow.
yeah, I had this offer, um, I believe.
Huh.
So yeah, man. In terms of the process, I can go through each and every individual school, but that would take years to talk about. But it's pretty
Sure.
much the similar process of DMing coaches on Twitter,
Sure.
creating that business. You are the business.
The relationship for
And the
sure.
relationship aspect as well is huge. Coaches come in, you go to their schools, you visit, you do camps, they notice you. Um, and again, you'll sometimes be in contact with coaches and they go somewhere, and sometimes they won't. Um, and that's because, again, there are a lot of dudes trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Once they stumble upon a guy who they really want over another, they're going to stop talking to that guy and focus on the guy they want.
Yeah.
And more so coaches do it I'd say they do it out of a respect thing. Like they don't want to sort of like lead you on into thinking that you're going to get an
Mm,
offer
sure,
and then like make you disappointed.
sure.
Although that's how naturally a lot of kids react and that's how it happens a lot of times. But um, over the course of this past year and a half, my first offer was Georgetown. I then continued to get offers from, I got a PWO, so preferred walk on is Elon. They can offer full rides. PWO is pretty much like that roster spot guarantee that I was talking about, but you have to pay for everything. They don't help with athletic scholarships at all. So I got offered by Elon as a PWO. I got offered by Marist. I
Mm.
was offered by Ferrum, a D2 school. Um, I was offered by McPherson, another D2 school. I was offered by Catholic after a camp, actually. A great D3 school atmosphere. Um, but I really wanted to play Division One. That's what a lot of guys.
Did you, when you were getting those D2, D3 offers, were you even thinking about it?
Funny enough, Ferrum was actually my top three.
Really?
Yes, and part of that was due to the money aspect of it.
Mm, sure.
Money is huge. Like if you're going to play football, all the kids they want to go, and you obviously want to go for free.
Now tell me about that though, because we'll get into it. But all I'm thinking about here, and a lot of the people watching, because they're
Yeah.
our friends, whatever, they do theater.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of what I'm thinking about is the comparison
Yeah.
between theater and football here and recruiting.
Yeah.
I think it's a little more obvious why a theater person going into college for theater, whether it's acting, musical theater, whatever it is, why they want to go somewhere that's not very expensive
Yep.
versus someone like you. Because, and the reason I say that is because usually people coming out of college for theater, it takes them a minute to get their feet settled and to get some money. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So
Yeah.
having, 60K a year multiplied times 4 years, like that amount in debt can cripple you, because, and you almost might have to stop your dreams of doing theater because you got to make money to pay off your debt and to, live.
Yeah.
You correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm probably wrong on this, but as a theater or as a spectator of the football sport, right? You think of, okay, if you're going to college for D1 football or D2 football, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, so this guy probably wants to go pro.
Mm.
And then you look at pro contracts, and I don't know if these people know it, but you know, just from my understanding, you're making a buttload of money.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
talk about that. Like, why is it so important to not pay a ton for college when hopefully the goal is that, okay, if I pay a ton for college, maybe that'll give me a better chance of going pro, and then money won't necessarily be a worry. Just but
Yeah.
correct that.
Um. Yeah. No. Great question. Why that's so important to go on a full ride scholarship? The last thing that anybody wants to worry about is finance and money. Think about if every football player, and you could say this with theater too, think about if there was the opportunity to have your whole college paid for, how much
Mm,
stress that would take off of someone's plate.
that's fair.
Think about think about just mental health and athletes in general, how important that is. And as you were talking, this was kind of spinning in my brain, just the mental health portion,
Mm,
which plays a big part into a lot of these guys' lives.
sure.
Imagine being a guy recruited, offered by a Division One school that you love, and then on top of that, knowing that you don't got to pay for it. It takes a lot of stress. And why
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
important is because pretty much what that full ride scholarship is saying is like, this is what you're worth, sort of. Like you're
Mm,
worth this. And why that's important is because if they're paying you for everything, they expect you to perform. Which is
sure.
why and there's a lot of guys. There's actually a guy in the draft that I can think of right now. He actually is going to the Dolphins. Um, I believed he was an undrafted uh, free agent, and he got signed to the Dolphins. But a really great edge rusher out of Wisconsin, Mason Reiger, he he had a bunch of a really lump sum of offers going into college. He could have went, D2 full ride.
Mm-hmm.
He chose to go with Louisville, the
Mm-hmm.
D1 FBS school,
Mm-hmm.
but PWO.
Mm.
So he was paying to go to Louisville.
Sure.
Um, it's something about scholarships. Full ride scholarships are not a 4-year guarantee. We
Mm.
call it a 1-year deal. And what that means is at any point in time, and this correlates with Mason's story and a lot of guys' stories, is that a lot of guys actually have their scholarships taken from them and invested into another player.
Wow.
And for Mason, he went into Louisville as a PWO, worked his butt off, outperformed every other guy who had his full ride scholarship.
Yeah.
Do the math. Why are you not going to pay this kid what he's
What he's worth. Yeah.
worth? You know what I mean? And that could be a whole other mental health issue too, like understanding worth and how much you're paid is. And I'm not saying that's what people should invest their thought process and time into, is like, if I'm not getting
Sure.
this
Yeah.
amount,
Yeah.
then I'm not worth as much. That's not the case. But that's just how it goes in the football world. Is like, it's like with any other job. Think of it as a job. You're going to college, like I'm going to college to play football, but also to study as well. But football, that's my job in college. And they're paying for everything and they expect me to perform. Now with the Naval Academy, it's different. Everybody that goes gets paid for, even just normal cadets who aren't playing sports.
Mm-hmm.
But think about any other business who has executives that are getting paid, $3, $4, $500,000. If you have an employee that's overperforming, especially the executives, why would you not pay them
Yeah.
for the work that they're doing?
Right.
Which is why, again, a lot of coaches, when you come in for that first year, they expect a lot out of you, especially if you have that full ride.
Yeah.
Um, and so to harp on your question, again, that's why it's important. It's because when you're getting paid a full ride, you are ultimately getting paid to do a job that you are expected to perform each year. And that's like your life. Again, football for me, for the next, like that's going to be my life. The next 5 years, actually. Lucky enough to play 5 years.
Talk about that. Why 5 years?
So with the academy, I will be going to their prep school first, which is in
Okay.
Rhode Island. Naval Academy is based out of Annapolis, but I will be at their prep school in Rhode Island for my first year to just do basic core classes before I then graduate and then head off to the
Okay.
academy for my 4. So I'll actually be playing on their prep team, which is not part of the NCAA, but we play other prep schools, Army, Air Force. I don't think we play Coast Guard. We play a Hamptons, a D1 FCS school, I believe. And that's just kind of like, think of that as like
Mm-hmm.
a red shirt year.
Which
But
is like, if I understand it correctly, not necessarily talking about like a prep school, but a normal red shirt would be if you, let's say, go to Oregon and you're really good, but you need a little more time to develop or something like that, and your first season you don't play,
you know,
then you're considered a red shirt, and then you can have 4 more years after that. And your fourth year, if I'm correct, so technically your fifth year, your fourth year after your red shirt year, you don't usually have to do classes. You're mainly focused on
correct,
you're mainly focused on football
right?
or your sport.
Yeah, you spot on.
Okay.
Right? Red shirt is that developmental year that actually it's common. A lot of people frown upon it for some reason.
Hmm.
It's actually very common. A lot of guys to show up to college and not be as prepared as they could be, and they
Sure.
take that red shirt year, and it's a great strategy to sort of just take advantage of, just to take that time to develop and get where you need to be, which is again allowed by the NCAA.
Yeah.
So you're practicing with the team, you're doing all this stuff with the team, you're
Okay.
just not playing in any games.
Yeah.
So you're doing all the things, but it's just ultimately a development year. So that's what I will be doing. But going back to the scholarship question, just to sort of wrap that up for you, is again, the main things that I would say about that are you're being paid to perform. That scholarship that you have for that 1 year can be taken from you if you don't perform at the
Yeah.
optimum
Wow.
rate. Which again, it's a stressful thing to think about. But again, think about all the guys who have PWOs who aren't getting paid to go to school, like how much stress they have to deal with.
Yeah, sure.
But so it gives a lot, but also takes away a lot of of bad things too. It takes away that stress of having to worry about finance, so that you can focus on getting better at football. That way, each year you're not like, oh crap, how am I gonna pay tuition? How am I gonna pay for my books? How am I gonna pay for
Yeah.
whatever else it may be? Instead, you ain't got to worry about that. Like we got you. Focus on the football, and you'll be good.
Yeah.
Um,
Talk though about, let's go into like when you got that, from my understanding, you were, I don't know if committed is the right word,
yeah.
but you were planning on going to Towson, if I'm
Mm-hmm.
correct. And then you get a call from Navy. Talk about that. What happened there, and like why was it that you got that call from Navy and you were like, all right, you know what I mean?
Good question. Yeah. So, just a bit of background on Towson. They were the second to last school. The last school was William and Mary. They
Mm.
were calling me about a PWO opportunity, but um, I was actually in contact and knew the Towson coach for a while. One of my trainers, Coach Chase, another guy who helped me with my D line developmental skills, he actually played for him at
Mm.
Delaware. Now being at Towson, I got that immediate relationship with him, talked with him, went to camp. He coached me up.
Yeah.
Um, and after waiting so long, he finally called me and said, hey, we got a few other guys we're looking at. We're like, it looks like you're probably going to be a PWO, but I'm not saying that I'm offering you that yet. But that's what it's looking like it's going to be. And I'm like, okay.
Sure.
He's like, let me go talk to my head coach real quick. I'll call you back. He called me back. He's like, hey, Alex, I got a PWO. If you're really considering it, you really
Hmm.
want it, it's yours.
And
So
they're D1. What are they?
D1 FCS.
Okay.
So they can offer full rides and
Got
stuff.
you.
But I was not as high on their board as they would have liked. He wanted a lot of heavier guys. So I think
Mm.
they only offered two scholarship defensive linemen. One of them was about 6'1", 280 pounds. Another
Oh,
one roughly the same.
wow.
So a little bit bigger guys.
Sure.
And again, coaches have their preferences on what they want. But anyways, um, took about a week and a half to sort of sit on it. And out of all the schools that I had been offered by, like Elon was great. I loved that staff. Unfortunately, it's not the same staff anymore.
Mm.
Um, loved the Georgetown staff. Loved the Merit. I loved pretty much almost every staff that I was with.
Mm.
Um, but again, Towson it was different for me, and so I decided, hey, like, and part of me too was actually pushed by the anxiety of just sitting and waiting for more things to come, because by this point it was about um I want to say like October-ish that I committed last year. October last year I committed, and so I was just like, let me get done with this process, let me get this over with so I don't got to deal with it anymore. So I committed as a PWO, verbally. And what that means, just
Yeah.
a,
Yeah.
a brief explanation. So when you commit, it's not official commitment until you sign.
Okay.
So you have the verbal commitment, and then you have the signing commitment. So like you said, like you prefaced, I was verbally committed to Towson. I let the social
Mm.
media know, like, I'm verbally committed. I hadn't signed anything yet that said
Hmm.
I was like committed to them for however long. So my recruitment was closed, but not really. Like I
Okay.
could still talk to coaches and stuff like that. And I maintained a respect to that too, because I told Coach Beelan, their D-line coach, that, um, I was with him, and you know what I mean, just to maintain that respect level. But yeah, no, in December 22nd, we were on
Okay.
winter break. I was actually at Whole Foods, and I get a Twitter notification from the Navy D line coach. He's like, "Hey, Alex, saw that uh you verbally committed to Towson." I'm like, "Yeah, I am actually." He's like, "Great, well, we'd love to recruit you." And
Wow.
so from then on,
Did you already have a relationship
I didn't.
before that?
No,
No. Wow.
no. So immediately, what coaches do is they'll ask for your transcripts, your SATs. So I gave him all those. Um, and then after that, it was just relationship building. I think roughly 2 weeks after I got in contact with him, he came down and visited the school just to
Mm.
come see me, come see what I look like, get a
Mm-hmm.
visual. Um, and what he told me, this actually, my eyes sort of lit up when he told me this because it intrigues me how coaches handle their processes. But he told me when he met me, he said, "Yeah, I saw your film and I freaking loved it. And you know
Mm.
what, Alex? Like, I wish I would have gotten to you sooner." So I was like, "Wow,
Mm.
like there's something here for
Yeah,
sure."
for sure.
Um, and for me, I was just waiting and expecting an offer to come sooner than it did. But he came, visited. We had a great conversation. Um, Great coach. He actually played at NC State,
Mm.
D lineman at NC State. So he's a local like East Coast boy. Um, and so started developing that relationship with him. He came and visited me, and then actually that next week he had our now defensive coordinator, Coach Lewis. He came and visited me to check up on me and stuff like that, and propose a at home visit with Coach Hall, D line coach.
Mm.
Um, so that weekend, um, maybe not the weekend actually. I think it was Thursday. Um, Coach Hall came to my house. We had lunch. He developed a better relationship with my parents. We got to talking, just continuing to build that relationship because that's what this process is all about. He's getting to know me. I'm getting to know him.
Yeah.
Um, Labeling all the things about the Naval Academy, and I'll get into why I chose the academy. Um, but then they invited me to an official visit. Official visit for D1 FBS. Everything, all expenses are paid for. It's like VIP. Like
Mm.
it was really cool how they treated us, the hospitality. So I actually went on the official visit over the weekend with a lot of other recruits who were offered or soon to be offered by Navy. Um, and so like expenses were paid for, hotel, gas. I showed up. They gave me a gift basket full of my favorite foods and drinks and stuff like that, which was
Wow.
really cool. And then after that, as soon as I got to the hotel, we came back down and we actually went to the facilities on the academy base.
Mm.
Um, we did a sort of introduction to the coaching staff. Um, they all introduced themselves to us, and then we actually got to try out their uniforms and take really nice flicks, which was really fun. Again, none of this I'd ever experienced before in a school visit, but took those pictures. And then after that, we just chilled. We chilled in their facility. They had a nice little like lounge room, and we had we had senior hosts or soon to
Mm.
be
Mm-hmm.
senior hosts, football players on the team who were there, be with us, growing a relationship with them, and just ask them questions. And then after that, the next day, we had a tour of the academy. Went around on a bus and sort of did a nice little mini tour,
Mm-hmm.
and we were actually being toured on a bus by one of the I think she's going to be a part of their staff. She goes to the academy. I think she's a senior or will be,
Mm.
but she'll be sort of be part of the staff. I think um, this coming year, and so she pretty much did all the informative talk on the academy. We got that tour done, and then after that, we were planned for dinner with uh, well, my parents were all the parents were planned for dinner with the coaches, and then we with our senior hosts that night we went to Top Golf. We had a really nice, fun time playing Top Golf. We came back, chilled even longer until. Oh no, we didn't chill. My fault. We went to Annapolis We got to experience that nighttime vibe. And if there's something about like Annapolis, literally, let me tell you, people move there for their kids, the academy, and then they end up staying there just because of how nice it is there.
It's very nice. I've been there for times.
So we did that, explored Annapolis. The next morning, we getting to the fun stuff here, fun part of the story. Next morning, we went to their stadium where we had breakfast in their like presidential room or whatever. Um, and the executive recruiting coordinator, so pretty much Coach Newberry, the head coach's like right hand man, comes to me. My dad is like, "Hey, Coach Newberry's gonna want to talk to you before breakfast starts. So just chill a second." And the funny thing is, like, he sends this guy. It seems like he sent this guy to go do the message. Although it was funny because he was like 3 feet right behind him, so he just came up himself. He eventually saw that he was talking to us and then came up himself. He was like, "Hey guys, like I'm ready for you. Like Alex, ready. Like, bring your parents. I want to talk to you guys real quick before we start breakfast here." We went to his office. Had a really nice conversation. He sort of again reiterated how much they love me as a staff. They love what I could do on the field. They love the person I was off the field. Everything that I had in terms of character aligned with their guys and who they recruit. And so he offered me, a spot on their team. And yeah, it was like I was thinking about it before even going into the academy. I was like, if they're gonna offer me, I'm gonna take it. There are so many benefits that come with the Naval Academy, and that experience in general that you just don't get from other other schools. Although there's a 5-year commitment to the service after you graduate, unless you go to the league, which is an option if you're eligible. We've actually had 2 guys this past year. They're both drafted to their hometown teams. Landon Robinson, a great friend of mine, he plays defensive line. And then Eli Heinrich, he plays running back and is going to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Wow.
And then we actually our second running back, Alex Texa, he got offered to go. He didn't get offered. He got invited to go to a rookie mini camp for the Steelers.
Wow.
So that'd be really cool if Texa and Heinrich get to play with one another. But that avenue is open.
That's cool.
And so for the rest of the trip, I just started to sort of build this just incredible joy of like ultimately understanding like, by the end of this, I'm gonna commit, but ultimately building that suspense for the coaches. And so that next morning, we were all meant to leave. Coach Newberry wanted to meet with every recruit and family individually. We went to his office, sat down with him. He asked how the experience went, and I sort of did this thing where I had my PVI hoodie over this Naval Academy shirt. I was like, "Coach, I couldn't wait any longer to do this." I took off my hoodie and I felt like such a boss. I said, "Yo, I'm committed to the Naval Academy." And so then later that day, I, had to call Towson and be like, "Hey, I'm pursuing a different route with Navy." And those are tough conversations, really tough conversations. Because ultimately, like, he knew about I told him about how Navy reached out to me. And he was asking my opinions on it. I was like, I got to learn more, stuff like that. Kind of not giving a definitive answer. Again, I was trying to be as respectful as I possibly could be. But yeah, no, like instantly knew 2 weeks beforehand after discussing with my parents, after researching, like, this is the spot I want to be. So as soon as that offer came in that next morning before I left, I told him, I was like, "Yo, count me in." And I got to ring this little bell that they have, I guess, as a tradition for all the recruits. All the coaches were standing outside the office waiting. And so we walked out and he was like, "We got a new midshipman on the way." It was the coolest, most surreal moment I think I've ever experienced.
Wow.
And all I could do is express my gratitude to the coaches for ultimately reaching out to me, building that relationship with me, and ultimately providing me with an opportunity to do what I continue to do.
Yeah.
What I love to do for the next 5 years. So that's kind of how that, sort of came about in my life. And it happened at the most random time. Typically the recruiting process for most guys, they get signed between January and, March. So my time was coming shortly. after I committed to Towson, and so I was sort of in this pit of like, which ladder do I climb up? Do I climb up the ladder where I stay committed to Towson, or I continue to explore this Navy thing? And I picked the Navy ladder and pursued
Mm,
that, and ultimately, like, it was a no-brainer decision for me. So um,
yeah,
after a month, it was literally within a month actually that he first reached out to me, and I visited and offered that all this happened, which actually is not common, really.
sure,
Typically, it takes like a month and a half, 2 months for a
sure.
coach to recruit you. But that's kind of my experience with the whole Navy thing
That's
and that
crazy.
shift. It's so surreal, man. But yeah, that's that
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
experience.
I just to draw a few comparisons because this is obviously. I mean, I only committed. I don't even. I need to think. I think I committed 2 days ago, 3 days ago, to Elon University for acting.
Hmm.
And just to like draw a comparison, like I think, and we've talked about this briefly. Like there are so many things about the process of going to a school for acting or for musical theater that are so similar to that of athlete recruiting.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And most like athletes would be like, nah, dude, like it's nothing. That's there's no comparison, dude. It is very, very similar in a lot
Very.
of ways. I just think that one, like I think for athletes, there's a bigger pool of people usually. Eh, mm, Yes and no, right? You know, there's some programs like Juilliard or NYU, they have like, 20 kids, 20,000 kids going for a roster of like 20 people. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So in that way it's a big pool, but like a lot of schools won't have as big of a pool of, you know, of people auditioning and stuff as football. But and the other thing I would say is like it I think that football and the recruiting process is just the theater process, but like the theater process is just the football process, but like 15 years behind
Yeah.
or 20 years behind in the sense of like we don't have as many steps. We have a lot of the same steps, but we don't have as many steps. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like you will go to camps in your junior year for acting. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's a great way of getting, same thing with football. But like most people just don't do that as much because we don't have as much knowledge or awareness of the process.
Yeah.
So people don't go to as many camps. Um, but a lot of the like, hey, come visit our school. When you're here on your visit, we'll do a little audition or not a little, it'll be your audition. And then, hey, maybe we'll invite you back for another audition or whatever it might be. Or you're sending your tapes online, you're sending your monologues online.
Yeah.
There are so many things that are very similar. And the money thing is probably one of the most like similar aspects in the sense of where I went to school was going to depend so much on the financial part.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And the fact that there were certain schools, like my top three, like offers, I guess you would say, Elon University, Ohio University, and Catholic and Belmont were pretty tied for me.
Yeah.
But the amount of money and the scholarship that they gave me specifically for acting, right?
Yeah.
The amount of money that they were willing to give me told me so much. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, like some of it they just can't control, right? Like they only have so much money to give out. But when Elon, we're a few days away from like commitment deadline, and Elon and I, like my family and Elon staff, are going back and forth talking about money and talking about where I'm looking and where I want to go and whatever. And they're willing to say, okay, how much money does he need in order for him to come here? Because we
Hmm.
really want him to come, you know? And then when you go visit and they're like, just as loving and stuff like that, you're like, okay, if the cards align and if the Lord wants it to happen, this is the school for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You tell me, you in a similar way to you getting your offer, like you say to me that you're willing to give me X amount, that's all I need to hear.
Yeah.
I'm going. Once Elon originally, I think offered me, I don't know if I should say as much, but like they gave me a bit for acting, not a ton for like school and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then we go back and forth talking about like how I really want to go here, but I need a little more. And them increasing that, them increasing, and getting it to a point where I could, you know, say like, yeah, this is the spot for me. And I'm not gonna. Yes, I'm gonna have to worry about finances because it's not a full ride, right? It's far from it, but it's a spot that's low enough that like, okay, I can do this. I can feel comfortable here. I don't have to worry like a ton about money. Like I'm not walking out with $300,000 in debt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's crazy how similar these completely different avenues are.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, yeah. We'll leave that there. Um,
Because I think too,
yeah.
right? You're so right in terms of, and this is for any sport, any career avenue that is taken in college. But um, something that I heard you sort of speak about was, I guess, like the faith aspect in terms of like, wherever it is you're meant to go, like wherever the Lord wants you to go is where you're gonna go, which is ultimately the case. Um, but something I guess I'll pose the question to you is like, what were the ups and downs of your sort of process? Certain feelings that you had towards certain schools,
Mm.
um, and ultimately what what shifted you towards Elon, and how much confidence did you have, and do you currently have in that decision?
Just because it's the first thing that's on my mind right now. The amount of confidence I have in going to Elon, like it is very high right now, and I suspect it's the same similar thing for Navy.
Yeah.
I feel this great peace in my heart that like this is where I'm supposed to be,
Yeah.
and I'm that makes me very excited. But the first thing that comes to my mind actually for Lowe's is is kind of in the audition process, right? Because a lot of the time that theater students, prospective students, are spending with the staff of a theater program
Yeah.
comes from the audition room.
Hmm.
I personally, this is something that I've recommended before, and I'm recommending it again for anyone who's not a senior, right? And or even is, because I didn't sign up until very late in my year. We have Chicago Unifieds, we have Pittsburgh Unifieds, LA, New York City. Unifieds are basically, think of it, if you're like a sports person, think of it like a combine in a sense.
Okay.
Like you go, you do your audition, and sometimes you're doing your audition in front of 20 people at once.
Hmm.
Sometimes you're invited to audition for many places, but it's all in the same location.
Okay.
So um you basically reach out to the piece of sorry, you reach out to the colleges, say like, hey, I'm going to be here. Would you like to have an audition here? I'd love to, audition for your school. But what you also have is like walk-ons. And this is what I want to get into is like when you're at Chicago, I came to Chicago, I was going to audition for Ohio University, Elon University, and a school called Butler. Um,
Hmm.
and I don't even know if I had any more than that.
Yeah.
But when you're there, you can go, if you go early enough, they have sign-up sheets that have like every person, their time slots.
Yeah.
If you see an open time slot, you can say, hey, I'm free at that time. Can I come in and audition at that time?
Hmm.
I ended up auditioning for 12 schools in 3 days. So close to like 4 auditions a day. I think one of the days, though, I had like 9 auditions in one day, which is crazy. Like, that's not like some people do that, but usually you don't do that. But what's important about that is like, one, you can get offers from places
Yeah.
that you would have never even thought of.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, wow, maybe I might go here. But a low that came from that though, and it's partially a high, is you probably have the same thing. Like you go to these different places and these different audition rooms, and you get a more broad um understanding of what it means to be in different places, right? I'm going to some schools that are very small. Not necessarily very small, but they're smaller theater programs. They're not as known for theater. And you can tell like they just this might sound bad, but it's kind of a red flag in a way when you're going into an audition room and they are like, you do your monologue, right? And they're like, I want you. Yes, yes, yes. I need you. We don't have to talk about your monologue. We don't have to talk about anything. Ask me questions. It's like, I need you to come to my school.
Mm-hmm.
And what that tells me is that you probably don't have as many other actors that you're really looking at.
Yeah.
And as like grateful as I am to like have received offers from those schools, I partially wasn't even really thinking about them, which this sounds bad in a way, but they just like, yeah, I don't know, they didn't have that like connection in the sense of they're gonna make me better and I'm gonna hopefully bring something. Like as an actor, and I assume as a football player as well, like you walk into every room thinking to yourself like, okay, this program will become better if I'm there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I am a fit for you guys. Hopefully you can see that. And then hopefully you guys are a fit for me too. Because I need a
Mm-hmm.
program that's gonna make me better, dude.
Yeah.
I I had this experience. I was talking to a good friend of mine, Gabby Burgos, here as well. We're talking about a school that both of us chose not to go to. I won't say what school it was, but they offered both of us, um, positions at their school. And the biggest problem with them is they have a great like atmosphere, great morals, great everything. But the way that their program is structured, it's not, I should say, it's not as structured,
Yeah.
right? And then you have this feeling of like, okay, if I go to this program, am I going to be the best and the hardest working person there? Yeah, probably. And that kind of scares me. I wonder if you feel the same way. As much as I want, and I know I will be the hardest working person, hopefully, or like I'm going to work to be the hardest working person. I don't want it to be like me going to this program. I'm going to work my butt off and nobody else is working as hard as me. And then they're not pushing me. You know what I mean? It's
Mm-hmm.
so important to me that I'm being pushed and I'm being like, the people around me are making me better and I'm making them better. If I don't have that, then I'm not gonna grow. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I bet the same thing for football.
Yeah.
You're talking about that, like teamwork, the camaraderie. That was like probably 70% of my decision.
Mm.
Was just, will this program make me a better actor? Because I have so much work that needs to be done. I have so much to grow. And going to Elon, being in that space, I was like, okay, this program is going to make me so much better. And I'm so excited to become better with these people.
Yeah.
These people who like, we're all so different. And that makes it so that we're not necessarily competing. We're just like trying to make each other better, trying to make ourselves better, trying to make the program better
Yeah.
and put on great art. And I'm so excited to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but what about you? What about you? Same thing. Ups and downs.
Um, I'd say for me, when you get to come to an understanding of what the recruiting process can look
Mm-hmm.
like obviously you're going to have times, like I mentioned earlier in the show, like you're going to have times where coaches are going to pick guys that you know that you're better than. So you think that you deserve or you earn the offer. you should earn the offer over them, but you
Mm.
don't. And that's where I go into that theme of comparison, which I'll dive into now. I think in the beginning that was very hard for me.
Mm.
Very hard for me because, like you said, like when you go to a school, your intention and your desire should be like, yo, and your motive should be, I'm going to be the best. I'm going to be the most hardworking, yada, yada, yada. Not in a selfish sort of um, tone or way,
Right. Yeah.
but understanding that wherever you go and whatever you do, like give it your all. Like you're giving of yourself to Elon as I'm giving myself to the academy, the Naval Academy. Um, so when it comes to that theme of comparison, um, it stirs up a lot of dudes, man. Like,
Mm.
and I think that's one of the biggest things that I've heard from other like teammates of mine's experiences and other guys that I've trained with is like, because a thing too with the whole recruiting process, and maybe you've seen it, is like social media can hypnotize you, man.
For sure.
Like it can cause you to go in circles about how good you might think you are at one point, and then 5 seconds later, after you watch a video, you start to rethink
You
yourself.
know what? You know how that is with us is not necessarily with everyone, and I suspect a lot of people might not feel this way. Whatever. You see you see someone like posted, oh, I'm going to, Carnegie Mellon, which is one of
Yeah,
the top for theater people. I'm going to Carnegie Mellon for musical theater. And then you see on their page that like a lot of people will post the roles that they played. You see that they've played, Romeo and shit in Romeo and Juliet. They've played, I'm just saying like uh blah, 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 just every lead role in the book, right?
yep,
They've played so many lead roles. And then you look at yourself and you look at your own experiences. And I'm like, whoa, like, is there a big gap between me and these people?
yeah,
Am I like cooked because I didn't play that role? I didn't get, maybe we played the same show or like we did the same show, but they were a leading role and I was a supporting role.
yeah,
And then you're like, whoa, am I, everyone else is getting all these leads. I mean, I've gotten one or two in my tenure. It's obviously shorter tenure than most people, but I'm comparing myself. I'm like, well, am I gonna be able to do what these people are doing? Am I gonna get the recognition?
yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Hmm.
continue. Yeah.
Yeah, no, just you're right. It's a lot of just looking at somebody else and then going into this loophole of like sort of readjusting your thought process on how you think of yourself.
Mm,
And for some people, it could lead to more motivation.
mm,
Like they see these dudes and they're like, "Yeah, no, I actually, you know what? I am better than you, and so now I'm going to show that I'm better than you." But I think a lot of guys actually fall into this pit of despair and this pit of anxiety
mm,
and just sort of like crumble within themselves and
sure.
like ultimately um I wouldn't say I've sort of dove into that pool a bunch of times, maybe in the beginning a few times, but you have to understand hard work beats talent every time. I will preach that for as long as I live. Hard work beats talent. An
Mm-hmm.
example of this I will give just from one of my experiences. At PVI for a scrimmage, we played a school who had a 5-star recruit on their team playing left tackle.
Mm,
This guy is 6'8", 345 pounds, committed to Oregon, top 5 offensive lineman in the country. So I was going up against him, and there's film on it. I ended up beating this dude twice. That makes you think. I just went up against a guy who's committed to play at one of the best schools in the country, known as one of the best players in the country. And I'm sitting here with pretty much
mm,
nothing at the time.
mm-hmm.
A lot of guys, how I took as a motivation. So that and for the next month, people brought that up. It's like Reyes beat this dude, Reyes beat this guy. It was like thinking about it is like a lot of guys in that moment would for me, it was motivation, dude. Like to know that I beat a freaking 5-star, um, me not being ranked at all is incredible. Which is another thing too with football is like
Rankings, yeah.
ranks don't matter.
Mm.
Ranks do not matter.
Mm.
You hear of a lot of the pros nowadays. A lot of pros nowadays went undrafted. Tom Brady, the greatest of all time, went 5th round.
Yeah.
Fernando Mendoza, the most recent Heisman winner and now first round draft pick, first pick of the draft. He wasn't even like a 2-star recruit come out of high school. And you see that dude now, like if you see Fernando Mendoza, just his character and how he approaches his passion with the sport of football and his work ethic, that is what separates him from all the 5-stars, from all the other 5-star recruits that he got drafted over.
Yeah.
Which is why, again, hard work beats talent. And for me, you're just thinking about it, it's a waste of time to sit there with yourself in despair and be like, man, I'm not getting this. I'm not getting the opportunities. Like, what the flip? It's not like the world. Some people will make it like the world revolves around them. And unfortunately, like, there are things to football and the recruiting process, and I'm sure with all the other processes with theater and other sports as well. Like, things are how they are, and you need to work around it. What is a big thing is what can you control is what I've had to come to understand is what can you control as an athlete?
Sure.
What can you control as an actor? Yourself. How hard you work. What you do with the free time that you have.
Yeah.
In my mind, it's a bit, I don't know, and this could be judgment, but it's honest. A lot of guys will not work as hard, but think they should be winning. It's actually funny enough, makes me think of I forget the coach's name, but the football coaches. A lot of guys do a little work and think they should be winning. And then there are guys who do an incredible amount of work, but still worry about if they're being lazy. That's the mindset that I've had to instill in myself when it comes to this process. And what I think takes a lot of guys above and beyond other dudes who are maybe ranked higher than them, have more opportunities than them, is like, you cannot be caught up in what you don't have and what you can't control, but rather what you do have and what you can control. You want something, like, you got to go get it yourself. It might take a lot longer and a bit more time than another person, and that's just how it is. Accepting reality how it is and working with what you can control is how I think a lot of people need to shift their mindset. Focus on what you can control. Work harder. Whatever free time that you have, use it towards getting better. So I think for me, dude, that's sort of been like one of the biggest things that I've come to understand and learn in terms of like worrying and stuff like that. I don't think it was a big issue for me. I've always been under the conviction and have had the faith, like we talked a bit about earlier, is like Christ will ultimately open the door that we're meant to walk through at the right time. I just told you, like, the Navy thing, the Navy opportunity came in at such the most random time.
Yeah.
But the door opened and I made no hesitation to walk through it. I felt called to walk through that door. And I was so confident. And even now, I'm confident and I'm excited that although, because a lot of people look at the opportunity I have and look at the commitment of service for 5 years, but there's so much to get out of it. And again, like, Lord knows best, and to surrender the will of where you think you should go, where you want to go, like, you're going to go where the Lord wants you to go. You're going to go to where the Lord knows where you'll belong and where you'll make an impact. But I think that's the biggest thing, man, is comparison.
Yeah.
Control what you can control. What can you control? Your work ethic. What you do when nobody's watching.
For sure.
What you do with that free time that you have.
For sure.
I think that's been the biggest thing for me.
That's great. That's so good. I want to go into a quick, not quick, but a little segment regarding faith because it's very important to both of us.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, where should we start? I mean, give us a little bit about your faith,
Okay.
just like what's important to you, and then we could just go from there.
Yeah. Yeah, a bit of background. I think I explained earlier. I've grown up Catholic all my life. You know, baptized when I was an infant. Had communion at age 8, confirmation later on. So my mom specifically has done a very great job at raising me in the faith. But for myself, I wasn't as devoted, which is where I think Christ opened the door when I was presented with the opportunity of going to PBI.
Right.
Which enabled in me I think the courage and the curiosity to like dive deeper.
Yeah.
So yeah, from going to pretty much little prayer to immense amounts of prayer some days. The biggest turning point of my life was when I gave my will to the Father and I accepted that Christ has taken the steering wheel of my life and I'm going to go wherever he takes me.
Yeah.
The biggest helps I think for me in terms of faith have been our discipleship class and our leadership class now.
Yeah. So just to give a quick background on that. 2 years ago in our sophomore year, at the end of our sophomore year,
Yes.
we started a club with an incredible teacher of ours, mentor, Mr. Keene. And with that, we started a club called Discipleship, Christian Discipleship. It was basically a club to ask some of the deeper questions about our faith, but more specifically to talk about the practical stuff. Like, do we know how to pray? Yes, but do we know what it means to pray and like how to actually do it in a fruitful way? And it's not just like speaking to air; it's speaking to a deity, I guess you would say, a person, a god, our God, the God. And then from that, it formed into the next year. It turned into a class, an elective called Christian Discipleship. The year after that, transitioned into another class called Christian Leadership, which is the class we've been taking this year. And it's going into, first Christian Discipleship is about, how do we be children of Christ, disciples of Christ, and follow his footsteps. And then this year has been more, how do we help others to follow in his footsteps. Yeah, you can go.
Yeah, those have been like the biggest impacts. And he
Sure.
talks about Mr. Keene. He's a great mentor to us both and makes himself available, along with our chaplain, Father Jonathan, who does an incredible job at steering us in the right direction when it comes to our spiritual lives. But I think for me, bro, the biggest thing about faith for me is what Christ tells us to is, deny yourself, pick up your cross and follow me. What does that mean? It means you are surrendering everything.
Yeah.
You are surrendering your struggles, your challenges, your trials, but you're also surrendering the good things too. You're allowing our Lord into a part of your heart that you have not let anybody else in before. Here's the thing, is a lot of people, I don't think a lot of people truly understand the intimacy that goes with developing a relationship with our Lord and what we are called for. Like Nico said, discipleship has been a class to understand practicals, to understand ourselves better, to know of our Lord better, but ultimately to grow in that relationship. And a big theme and motto for that class is we go out by going in. So we are all called as disciples of Christ um, to ultimately evangelize and proclaim the good news whilst also giving of ourselves. And I think that's been a pretty big portion of my faith, man, is learning how to give of myself
Mm.
to those around me. Um, Even on days where it's hard. Um, and I think another big thing to highlight too is like we as humans, like naturally, it's a natural thing to not want to pray. It's a natural thing to not be vulnerable. And I
Mm.
think it's because, especially for men too, I'm gonna speak on men. Um, our society has constructed a outline that sort of says you can't have feelings, you can't have emotions, you can't express your emotions unless you're weak. Um, Sort of telling men that you are less than what you are if you have emotions.
Sure.
And that's not the case at all. Um, Discipleship, the meaning of discipleship, Nico sort of hit on it, is imitation. How do we best imitate Christ? And one of those ways of imitating Christ has been emotionally. You think about the cross on Calvary, what Christ experienced. He experienced um, all sorts of emotions. He experienced all different types of pains. He experienced physical pain, emotional, and spiritual pain.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and all those correlate to emotions. Our Lord wept in the Garden of Gethsemane before he was to be crucified, so anxious that he cried tears of blood. Our society would frown upon that now, I would think, when it comes to men, of that standard of like, you have something hard that you have to face. You are not allowed to sort of express how you feel through emotions like
Mm.
crying or sobbing or all these things. Our Lord was the strongest male human being to ever walk the earth, right? There was nobody stronger than him emotionally, physically, and spiritually. He is God, yes, but he was ultimately man as well. Um, and regardless of that, he still wept. He still cried. Even when Lazarus passed away, when he heard of Lazarus's death, it's the shortest verse in the Bible. Jesus wept.
Yeah.
I think for me, the biggest thing is like my freshman, sophomore year in high school, I was very big on being closed off, um, keeping my heart, the gateway of my heart, shut from the people around me.
Yeah.
Um, let no emotion come out except just this like flat, I don't
Yeah.
know, like flat coasting, serious sort of tone that you could see on my face with my body language and all that. Um, and I never truly understood why emotions were so important
Mm.
and why they're so needed, right? Emotions, the experience of emotions help regulate um, what our body and what our mind is ultimately processing. And so for me, man, to be able to connect, I think PVI in general, just that environment, but ultimately with faith, we're made for relationship. And there's no relationship without emotionally connecting to another person.
Mm.
Um, just like I said, when it comes to our sports or things that we do difficult as men, we grow in relation with one another by doing something hard, by doing something that makes us suffer, by experiencing pain together. Um, and that's natural, man, and that's real. And so something that our Lord has been continuously, messaging to me was like, Alex, like I'm here to receive you and receive all of you. The society that my world, his world, is now structured around today is not what it was meant to be. Again, our Lord made the world because he saw it was good. Now, ultimately, his greatest gift of love was the gift of free will, and we abused that gift through our first parents. Um, so we set that boundary on ourselves. We set that structure on ourselves that says you can't be emotional, man, or you're not a real man. The greatest relationships come out of us being emotional. And so when it comes to our faith, it's always an exchange of emotions. Our Lord is there to receive us, but we're also there to receive him.
Yeah.
Which has been the biggest aspect for me, man, was just trying to understand the emotional aspect, and then tying that into my spiritual relationship with our Lord, but also the relationships I have with you guys, with our friends. And yeah, understanding the Christian life, what our mission is, I think has obviously steered us in the right direction. Although it's again, it's the hardest mission to fulfill, to
Mm.
be called to proclaim the good news of the Lord in a world
Mm.
that is so corrupt, so evil, not what it was meant for. Something that stuck with me is like, and I think maybe Keen said this, but I've heard this from somewhere, is like, you need to prepare. All of us have to prepare. All of us followers of Jesus Christ need to be prepared to be martyrs. That is the ultimate
Mm.
preparation, to understand that we are doing something, we are called to something that is true, that's good, but it's difficult. Evangelizing is difficult, right? Because we obviously have the evil one as the opposite force trying to um, tug that away from us. And through the grace of Christ, we're trying to make it happen, and carry out that mission. And it's difficult. It's so difficult. And that is why we need one another. And that's been the biggest thing for me, is relationships and understanding the mission,
Yeah.
preparing to be a martyr. Because by doing something hard and ultimately good, we are fulfilling the will that the Father has sent us all ultimately to do. There's a common goal amongst all human beings, and that's to proclaim the good news of the gospel and to bring as many people to Jesus Christ as possible. Um, that's our mission as a collective um, community and family
Yeah.
of all of us who believe. But for me, man, the biggest aspects have been relationships and vulnerability.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. Talking about what you were saying about society, right? Like, I think, well, there's two things I want to say, but one of them is that it's very difficult, I feel like, for us in this age, right? You look at the world, you look at almost every field in the world is incredibly secular. And you can even look like, I look a lot at acting, at theater, um, entertainment in general, because it's the field that I'm in. But to talk about your field, right? Like the football field, I think that it's beautiful that there are some people, and there actually, I feel like a decent amount of football players that like are very open about their faith,
Yeah,
and you can tell that they're incredible people and they're great role models, everything. There are also a lot of people who do very bad things. There are also a lot of people who, are very openly against the faith. And it's the same thing with the theater world. And it's very interesting to be people who grew up in this faith, and now we're about to go into the real world, in a sense, where not everyone is Catholic and not everyone is Christian. And in fact, there are people who have had awful experiences with Catholics,
yeah,
and they have now a resentment against the faith because they've had bad experiences. And it can be very intimidating, I feel, to to openly, right? Like here on this platform, even how many people are going to watch it? I don't know. I don't really care. A lot of these people that are going to watch it might not be of the faith.
Mm-hmm.
And we're here like being open and honest about the fact that like this is what we believe in. You know what I mean? And I think it's very admirable and it's very challenging and scary at times to be this open about it.
Yep.
So that's one thing I wanted to say. Can't remember the other thing. But talk a little bit about like how you've come to be so open about it,
Mm.
right? How you've grown in comfort in the sense of like in confidence to speak openly about it.
Yeah. Um, I've had my fair share of struggles. I think a big thing, um, a big, a big shift in my life was when my parents separated.
Mm.
That took a toll on me, bro. Emotionally, mentally, I fell, and that's when I ultimately fell into this hole of, again, just closed off, a hardened heart, um, ultimately broken. Right, as human beings, and as sinners too, we're all broken. And the point you brought up is like a lot of people have problems with Catholics, and it sort of steers them away. Um, Something that I've come to understand, and I want people to understand this too who are watching, is that all Catholics that and all followers of Christ, even that you run into, yes, we believe in a God who is ultimately true, who is all love, who is all good, who is all forgiving, who is all mercy, right? We believe in that God. And we do our best to imitate Jesus Christ. But something to understand is that there are Catholics, and ultimately not just Catholics, but followers of Christ too, who just go through the motions,
Mm.
do the minimum things, right? And I feel like, and this is something I've had to learn through Eucharistic adoration, why it's so important, why we believe the Eucharist is Christ's true body, blood, soul, and divinity, is like Christ gave us himself through the Eucharist so that we might come to know him, to love him, and to serve him. There's a saying, the 5 people you spend the most time around, you become most like.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Catholics
Mm.
today, Jesus isn't in that top 5, which is why Eucharistic adoration has been so important for me, and so important for me emotionally, which is what's helped me so much. Like we
Mm.
need that. We need that space, and Christ gives us that space through the Mass and through Eucharistic adoration by giving of himself, of that sacrifice that we celebrate, but we also show complete reverence to.
Right.
And so I want people to understand, even myself, like I'm not going to sit here and tell people that I'm the greatest Catholic in the world. I'm sure you would say the same. And even a lot of people that we know who we would say are better than us would say the same thing. We all have our fair share of flaws as human beings, right? We are flawed alone. To expect that because a human being believes in Jesus Christ, it is unfair to suggest that that person is perfect. To understand that only our Lord is perfect, and that we can only attain perfection through him by the end of our life, where we ultimately leave this world that is ultimately a hotel room that we stay in on vacation, to our true home, which is in heaven, right? It's unfair to say that everyone who believes in Jesus Christ has to meet this standard of perfection. And if they don't,
Yeah.
then you have problems with them. I am broken. You're broken. We're all broken. We're all sinners. We all admit that. We all do wrong. But that is why we believe, right? We believe because There is a God, there is God, there is Jesus who came to give us this gift of relationship, of eternal life that we can accept, right? And a lot of people don't accept that fully. And I think that's the problem in our world today, is like there are a lot of people who claim to believe and know Jesus Christ. And I'm not saying every day that I surrender completely to our Lord. And I'm not saying that I do every day that I give myself 100%, because I don't. It's unfair to suggest. But in this world, again, there are a lot of people who coast through their spiritual lives, through their Catholic lives, and they do the minimum. To say that you expect those people to be perfect human beings, perfectly nice, perfectly good at everything they do, is just unfair. It's so unfair.
And I would say, just going off of what you're saying,
Yeah.
building on it, I'd say like a message to the people watching who aren't Catholic, right? I would say if you have a bad experience with a Catholic person, or something happened, or maybe it was your youth, right? Maybe it was childhood church or something like that that's like completely turned you away. The biggest thing that I would say is harping on what Reyes is saying, is like, we are all so imperfect and we've all made so many mistakes. And not to say that I'm not trying to say like, hey, I want you to come to the Catholic Church right now and boom, because obviously I do. But I just encourage, like, we've all made mistakes. If you can, try to forgive, and then try to just come to an open mind. Because what was very big for me, and I bet you've experienced this as well, is like, I look at the people that I love, I look at the people that I look up to, and I notice a common theme. I've said this so many times. It's like, I notice a common theme. And that common theme is that they all have faith, for one, and a lot of them, and all of them, believe in Jesus Christ to be God, and for him to be the person and the man and the God that created everything. And then they, not just that they believe in him, they also act as though they are him. Not in the sense of like, oh, I'm God, but like in the sense of being a good person, following his teachings.
Mm-hmm.
And because I noticed that common theme, I have to be, I'm struck with curiosity, as you were saying, and it makes it so that I have to be like, okay, I'm not going to close myself off to this. I'm going to look into it a little bit. I might not become a full Catholic at all that, but like, if you notice that you like this, if you notice that you like the people that follow this, and you're not a Catholic already, or maybe you are, I encourage you to just go deeper into it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's like, if I had to say something to the people who like don't believe at all, I think that's what I would say. Is there anything you'd add on to that?
I think take out Catholicism, take out Jesus Christ in general, which with the point that I'm getting to, you're ultimately not.
Mm.
We as humans, regardless of religion, regardless of faith, we all desire one thing: to be loved. And that is what my faith, Nico's faith, and a lot of people around the world's faith is about. Again, we believe in Jesus Christ as the God of love,
Mm-hmm.
true love. And again, like he said, like this is not us pushing people. This is us just simply proclaiming the message that your desire is seen. And a lot of people miss that.
Yeah.
Is your desire is seen by the one who created you and ultimately wants to fulfill that desire. But we have to take the first step.
I would, but before you move on, I would say yes, we have to take the first step,
Mm-hmm.
but that's just our perception.
Yep.
In reality, he's taken a million steps already of love for us.
Mm-hmm.
But continue. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Um.
But we have to, exactly in the sense of we have to initiate the response, right?
Exactly.
He's given us a million love letters. He's given us everything that he can in a way. Like obviously he can give us everything, but like he's given us the love, but we have to take that first step of responding with love, of
Yeah.
talking back,
Yeah.
you know.
Mm-hmm. And so, to just go back to how I've dealt with emotional vulnerability and what what I went through with my parents' separation is like in that moment, like it just felt like in my life, and this is not me casting blame on anybody. It just felt like there was a lack of love in my life. Why? Because Christ wasn't in my life at the time.
Mm.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying everything is sunshine and rainbows just because Jesus Christ is in your life. Like there are bad things that happen to people. Bad things like murder, abortion, divorce, um, physically injuring somebody. Um, like there are a lot of things that are bad. But ultimately, we are promised good in the end, but we have to respond. And so for me, the biggest thing for me was Christ stepped into the gateway of my heart at the time because I was so broken that my heart was just like naturally open to any love that I could receive. And so Christ used that,
Mm.
I believe, and he took advantage of that. And so when I got to PVI, I was met with, and I'm a relational guy. Um, I love my relationship with people. He flooded my life with a bunch of incredible relationships. A lot
Mm.
of relationships where I saw um, authenticity and true love, and just like this sense of like this is real. And so the more I got to embark on those relationships, I started to be more curious, I think. And I wanted to understand where the source of all that came from. And it led me back to the church. It led me back to Christ. And so, um, with emotional vulnerability, it takes that first step. Like you have to be willing to just walk in what seems like a fire pit. Like, yo, if I walk in this, I'm just going to get torched. Because I think, too, that's what shaped a lot of guys is like just judgment in general.
Mm.
Um, so like you're thinking to yourself, I'm just gonna walk into this bonfire that I'm just gonna burn up in because I'm gonna share everything. But I was provided with a bunch of relationships in my life that I ultimately needed, and Christ saw was necessary for me to regulate my thoughts, my emotions, people that could receive me well because of their love for him, which is something that I've come to recognize in other people's like the people who have a true and authentic love for Jesus Christ and that have received his love well are able to receive others well. And that's inspired me too,
Mm.
because there's nothing more than I want to do in this world than to help people, which is why Nico and I are talking about this now is like we both have an ultimate desire to proclaim the truth and help others. But I'd say the relationships that I was provided and blessed with in a time of despair, in a time where or love was not present in my life as much as it was earlier in my life, something was missing. An aspect of love was missing. True love was missing. And Christ fulfills that true love. And
Mm.
because we call him a savior, he ultimately saved me from this emotional pit of just anguish and anxiety and all these things, man. And I've come to lean on that. And by leaning on him, in a sense, again, he wants to sort of like lean back on me. Again, it's a give and receive relationship. Our Lord gives of himself, so we give of ourselves. I talked about earlier, deny your cross or deny yourself, pick up your cross and follow me. You are denying your selfish ways, yourself in general, and saying, I'm going to walk. Ultimately, he's shepherding us and leading us. But in a sense, he's also side by side with us. There with us when we fall, he's there to pick us up. There when things are going great, and he's there to receive that. He's just a God that wants to give, and a lot of us aren't open to receiving.
Yeah.
And so I think Christ took advantage of that gateway that was opened and flooded my heart with relationships and love that I needed. And that was just the start of something incredible in terms of that.
Sure.
That was
That's beautiful, dude. That's beautiful. I think, yeah, we're gonna have to come to not to a conclusion, but to the wrap up point. I honestly, dude, I'm not gonna lie. I suspect we do another one of these because I bet we have a lot more to talk about. And yeah, I just feel like we need to in a way, in a time, for sure. But we have a few things to do.
Okay.
First things first is our speed round.
Okay.
So I feel like we got to take a breath and because now we got to have some fun because this is fun. This is fun. My questions are here. Listen. This is a speed round. Is there a timer? No. Do you have about 5 seconds to answer each question? Yes.
Okay.
Cool.
So
So just spitball. If you can't think of anything, think of something fast.
Okay.
Just go.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
You ready? Take a breath. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Favorite NFL defensive player of all time?
JJ Watt.
Pump up song before every game.
Oh, golly. Dreams and Nightmares.
Biggest football fear. Drop a pick, miss a tackle, or get scored on by a freshman.
Get scored on by a freshman.
On a scale from 1 to 10, Navy versus Army, how bad do you want to win?
10.
The teammate you'd least want to go up against in practice.
Brian.
One word to describe your senior year.
Surreal.
If you weren't playing football, what would you be doing?
Entrepreneur.
Last meal before a game. What is it?
Probably steak and pasta.
What's something people would be surprised to know about you?
I'm not as scary as you think.
I would agree with that. I would very much agree with that. Good round, good stuff. On that last thing, people in this podcast are probably going to think you're a scary guy.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
I think it's fair.
But I will say, from knowing this kid a lot, going to school with you, he is he's a big teddy bear. Same thing with Brian. He brought up a kid named Brian. He's how much does he weigh?
6'1", 290 pounds.
He is a massive dude, and he can crunch you. Like he will just squeeze
and he
you,
does.
and you're done.
He does.
You're cooked. You're fried. But they're great people. So keep that in mind. All right. The last thing we do on the show before we head out, take a second, think of a virtue, any virtue that you'd like for people to pray for right now, in the future, whatever. Something specific to what's going on in your life. I'll go first. I would. This is a general thing, but I would say an increase in love. I love people, but right now I'm struggling a little bit with love. I'm struggling with self love, and also with love of others. So pray for love for me.
Um, I'd say patience.
Mm,
I think for me, um, I'm a big perfectionist and I kind of want things to be done fast and good. Ultimately, I just I need a better understanding. I have the understanding. Just pray for the increase in understanding. Like great things take time, whether it
mm,
uh, comes with relationships, with goals, aspirations, things you want to do. Like all those things take time, and with patience, um, like we've talked about numerous times, especially with our college stuff, is like
mm,
understanding that things are going to happen when they're called to happen, when our Lord writes for them to happen. Um, and so, going into this next chapter of our lives, there's going to be things that um, we want to do, aspirations that we're going to have, goals that we want to achieve, um, maybe things that we're struggling through, and we just want to get through it all. Um, don't get me wrong, suffering is bad, but I think there is joy to be found in suffering by being patient,
mhm.
and by understanding the fruits of patience. Um, but ultimately, um, yeah, the virtue of patience.
Awesome. Okay. Pray for patience. Pray for love. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this episode. I'm hopefully going to get back in the groove of things. It's been a long time because of all these shows I'm doing, but it's been an amazing time. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Reyes, for coming on the pod.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks for
I
having me.
appreciate it a lot. We will see you guys in the next one. I hope you have a blessed day, and we'll see you later. All right. Peace out, guys.
Peace.